Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing a novel from the Star Wars universe. It's called Queen's Peril, and it's authored by E.K. Johnston. I'll also put a picture of the cover up in the video. So as you can tell, this novel is going to be all about Padme, or Queen Amidala. It's set prior to The Phantom Menace, and part of the novel also crosses over with The Phantom Menace. But with the crossover, it is from the viewpoint of Padme and her handmaidens for the main part. So that's the difference, and that's also adds a bit of interest as well, because we see events from the movie, but from a different viewpoint. For me, the plot was really interesting. I thought from the very beginning, the author did a great job in capturing the true essence of Padme and her handmaidens. So at the very beginning of this novel, we have the election, where Padme is voted in as Queen of Naboo. She's young at the time, I think 14 years old, but straight away we also see in the background the selection of the handmaidens and just how that comes about. And that was really intriguing because it's information we don't get from the Star Wars movies. I thought it was so fun and so fascinating to see just how Padme and her handmaidens devise all their schemes and all their methods to keep her safe, because we see that the handmaidens are also being trained as bodyguards, and some of them are actually getting hand-to-hand combat, Padme included, and also training in other weapons as well. That was really exciting in that part of the novel. This is a young adult novel, and you can tell that by the way it's written and the way the characters are also written, but more about characters later. So in the plot, Padme and the handmaidens, while they're devising all these methods to keep Padme safe as the Queen, they're also devising methods to outwit Captain Panaka. And one of the ways they do this, and you see this in a fun thing they do in the novel, is there's a concert they want to attend. And so they find a way to outwit everybody on security staff and all go to the concert. They got caught out in the end, but it's just so fun to see that. But as the way in the plot that they're so clever, the young girls are so clever, and the adults always get the wool pulled over their eyes. So you can see how it's appealing to the young adult audience. So as much as this book concentrates around Padme coming to terms with being Queen, it's also leading up to the invasion force for the Trade Federation. We see Senator Palpatine also playing a role in this novel, as we'd expect, because he plays a big role in the Phantom Menace movie. So we get that element as well, with Palpatine playing a friendly senator, but we also see the other side of him, the darker side, in this novel and prequel to the movie. And that's, engages the reader into this story. Well, engaged me anyway, and his character is written so well, it sent shivers up my spine. And I just love to see the contrast in his character. The senator that seems so friendly and so nice, will do anything for Padme, but also that darker side, the sinister side, that we all know, but Padme doesn't, not at this stage of the story anyway. One very interesting aspect of this novel is Darth Maul. Now, he arrives quite early on with the invasion force on Naboo, and he's scouting out locations because he knows that there's going to be a fight between himself and two Jedi. This is interesting because in the movie we just see the fight, but in the book we learn that he chooses that location on purpose, and he trains himself for all the different things that go on in that location, timing of force fields, etc., because he knows that that will come in handy, be to his benefit during that fight. So this book shows us that it wasn't luck. It was careful planning in the way that he defeated Qui-Gon in the fight in The Phantom Menace. And that was really interesting, and I think that's a key part of this novel. So that's the plot in a nutshell. It's not very surprising, really. It's just about the growth of Padme as Queen, and then introduction to that invasion from the Trade Federation. So we get key components of the story that we need as background for characters. So it's interesting in that view. Nothing ground-shattering or groundbreaking really in this novel, just some of those interesting background components to the characters that we don't get from the movies. Padme. Of course, Padme is the main character in this novel. Well, it would have to be. It's called Queen's Peril. The author does a great job in getting the true essence of Padme. I think so anyway. I was really interested to see her coming to terms with being queen. You know, from the very first time she learns that she wins the election to the end of the novel when the invasion force of the Trade Federation is defeated. You see that really steep character growth in Padme, and I found that really fascinating because I wanted the background to this character. She couldn't have just come into being queen and being so good as queen as she was in the movies without having something beforehand, and the author did a great job in giving us that. The handmaidens, all cleverly crafted from the moment they're selected to all the time they spend with Padme, learning their own positions, but also devising all those schemes that they come up with. The way all the handmaidens and Padme interact with each other is quite clever. They don't come across as little children, you know, teenage girls. They come across as young adults and very clever, very above their years in a way. That was very interesting and really well done by the author. The one that stands out, of course, is Sabe, because she's like the second queen in a way, and she's the one that mimics the queen more often than the others. And she does do that more than once in this novel. And we just see her coming to grips with that and how nervous she is. Not like in the movies where she's very calm, very collected. We see that growth in her as well. So the author did a great job of giving us that. Captain Panaka. You can't mention this book without mentioning Captain Panaka. He's a standout as well and really fun because, well, he's an adult in the novel and he's almost like a babysitter sometimes, you know, trying to look after the queen and the handmaidens. He also has different sides to his personality. He has the stern side, the soft side, the serious side, the fun side. He's a really good character and really interesting, and you get so much more feel to his character in this novel than you would from any movie, I think. So I'm really grateful to see more of Captain Panaka. And of course, Senator Palpatine. You can't go without mentioning him as well. He's key to this novel because he's key to the Phantom Menace. Such a good character. His two sides were cleverly drawn out in this novel. And as I said before, he did give me chills. I really, really felt that sinister, evil side of him. I just hope that in other novels where he may be, we get that same kind of feel, because he's such a good villain, such a waste if he's not used to the full extent. I thought this novel was really well written. Being a young adult novel, it is shorter in length, of course, and the language is skewed towards that audience, and so is some of the action, you know, a lot of what the characters do in the novel. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I got to learn a lot about the characters that I never knew before. So for that, and the way it's written, I give this 4 out of 5. I'm really finding Star Wars novels fascinating because all the ones I've read so far, I really enjoy. And I hope they continue, because I do plan to read a lot more. I have read Queen's Shadow, the sequel to this novel, and Queen's Shadow is set after The Phantom Menace, so I will do a review on that sometime in the future. But I was holding off on that because I wanted to read Queen's Peril first and do this review. I'm really looking forward to more Star Wars novels and doing more reviews on them, because I'm finding the more of them I read, the more I'm just becoming enraptured with the Star Wars universe.